All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Trading Game. Today is Thursday, July 9th, 2026. We're in the midst of summer. We'll see what we have on deck here today. Before we begin, regulators require that we show the disclaimers related to trading. NFA Compliance Rule 2-29C, subparagraph 1. Be sure to read it in your spare time. Understand what the risks are associated with trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Okay, good. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday and then how we may see it unfolding today. So yesterday was the final day of the previous cycle, and typically in pretty well cycle form, on a cycle day 3, we typically have some sort of a decline at the end of the cycle. And that's, of course, what we did get yesterday. We actually had a continuation from the weakness that spilled over from cycle day 1, cycle day 2, that is. Right, so there's a CD2 high up here. Right, that's on the NQ. Either one, NQ or ES, same basic patterns. All right, so we started off with some cycle day 3 consolidation, but we ended up having what's referred to as a descending triangle type formation. So for those of you that are familiar with descending triangle type formation, that is a bearish formation. And we ended up getting that break. Right, this was pretty much during the overnight session yesterday, coming into yesterday, and that created our cycle day 1 low. We got that bounce, and then we had a retest during the RTH session, and then from that retest we ended up getting a rally right off of that low. So yesterday, I mentioned this again a number of times throughout the day, but prices yesterday had reached the projected zone, okay, for a cycle day 1 average decline. And we ended up getting that bounce and then retest. All right, so today, market's somewhat following through. We came within 2 ticks, I believe, of the final reclaim of the cycle day 1 low. So as far as I'm concerned, for all intents and purposes, that's essentially a reclaim. We had the reclaim in the Globex session, 3-day cycle. It just came very short in the RTH, but a lot of times what we do there is in the following session, it typically will follow through and essentially reclaim it. So that's all happened, and you can see here 38 quarter, and overnight prices have pushed up to around the 55s, which was one of our targets. Line in the sand today for us is 75.25. All right, now here's the nuance. And I wrote this a little bit. Am I cutting out? Hold on just a moment then. Okay, good morning once again. How's the mic now? I just want to make sure the audio is better. Okay, super. Sometimes I need to reset my mic. Okay, great. Yeah, please let me know always about the audio. In most cases, it requires that I just reset my mic headset. Mike was better yesterday. Okay, good. I love the humor. Love the humor. All right. So, anyways, in terms of the kind of the nuances of the cycle, quickly, generally speaking, we're looking for a decline once the end of the cycle completes. And again, yesterday we ended up getting that move down to the average decline. So if you take a look at kind of the ebbs and flow of the cycle, it's not necessarily that, the uh, each day must conform perfectly to an ideal cycle. A lot of times they kind of, spill over into the prior day, or they spill over into the next session, right? So for instance, right, as an example, today is a cycle day one. Typically, we would be looking for some weakness for a cycle day one to establish a decline. But if the weakness occurred at the end of the prior cycle, again, yesterday, and it fulfilled the projected average decline, which we would be thinking about today, again, which it did yesterday, then the market is just telling us that the average range, all right, to the downside has been satisfied. And then buyers step in. They don't care whether it's a specific cycle, day one or day two or day three. Remember, that's kind of a cycle template that we use, right, for the various rotations. But the market's going to do what it wants to do. It's up to us. It's our responsibility to interpret what is going on as it relates to the 3-day cycle. Okay, if we're following the 3-day cycle, right? So what we're trying to do is measure what those average ranges are, and if price has fulfilled various range objectives as it did yesterday, then this is what happens. Buyers here step in, all right, yesterday, and then one of our scenarios coming into yesterday, if you recall, was a potential retest, right, of the overnight low, which we ended up getting. And then the market then kind of views that as, okay, there's no further sellers, right, willing to sell below those levels. What that does is it creates new demand, because everybody's sitting on the sidelines saying, hey, there's no more sellers. It's safe to start buying. And so they do. And then since essentially the sellers had, for all intents and purposes, sold out, you get that move to the upside. And that's kind of what happened yesterday. And during the session, on that retest, I did post in our community that now the market is clear or free to explore to the upside, work to reclaim the cycle day one low. All right. So it's just basically kind of looking at the auction and finally realizing that the auction has cleaned itself out of sellers. And then once the new demand begins to form, okay, then there's no real supply to hold it down any further. And then new demand begets more demand. People start seeing that on the sidelines, and they come off the sidelines, and it just begins to feed itself the momentum, right? Keep one thing in mind. The market, we don't talk about this necessarily in those terms, but really the market is just simply, supply and demand, right? Merchandise moving around. People need to sell. Again, we're talking about the institutions, right? They need to sell, not for any reason other than perhaps I want to liquidate some here and I want to put monies to use over there. Okay, so lots of people seem to think, oh, they're selling and we're going to break down. We're in a big range, and I don't see anything at the moment, unless really something happens. Even what's happening overseas recently, again, the startup of the activity there is not really has done anything damage in terms of the market. The market's, just going to continue to rotate. So you just kind of need to think of it as, what are the rotational ranges? The theme still continues to be, buy the F and dip, right? And then it rotates higher. Also, I think, again, since we're in the middle of the summer here, things will tend to thin out on a week over basis. People will be taking vacations, spending time with family, etc. Right? So the markets tend to get a bit thinner during the hot summer months, and people want to get away from the screens. So that's something that you may also, consider for yourself, not spending as much time on the screens, spending a little bit more quality time elsewhere, right? But while we're in front of the screens, we give it our, full effort, and then we throttle it back. So let's see how we unfold today. Again, cycle day one, we didn't really get a decline today so far. I mean, we have a low in place at 16s, but we really didn't get a decline. So again, we're still kind of thinking about that low from yesterday being much more important overall. But technically, we're still looking for a cycle day one low for this cycle. All right. All right, so right now, coming into the RTH session, you can see here the upside lean is the dominant side. So we'll stick to that for the time being, and unless there's a change of character. All right. For our charts over here in the pre-opening, we have a discount ATR long that triggered off a bit earlier before we begin our session here. All right, so at this point, market is just kind of in this somewhat of a neutral range. All right, you can see the VWAP here once again kind of flattened out as we enter into RTA. So we'll outline the sandbox, if you will, roughly. Again, our line in the sand of the 25s. So 75 25s, make a note of that. So we'll keep that as line in the sand, and pretty much up here 55. So we'll go 25s, 55s. I know it's simply, fairly wide, but really that's kind of where the market has maintained most of its activity, and we'll begin at that point. For those of you trading crude oil, opening range, okay, we are short of crude oil. Let me just pull that over. We are short of crude oil in that opening range strategy. All right, that's the skinny on the mini. Feel free to ask questions. Let's have a good session. All right, here we go. Dingity ding ding. There goes the bell. All right, so we scratched out the remainder of that early long position. It wasn't really a high probability trade. It was somewhat right there in the middle. So a scratch on that is welcomed. Manage the risk. So in terms of levels, if we're thinking again, if we get a move down back towards like the 25-30 zone, I'll be looking for some dip buying opportunities. And for any further upside potential, again, above those 55, 65s, which is part of our daily trade strategy levels, check those out. I did post the link there. And what you'll also find again when I was writing the daily trade strategy, many of the same levels that I've been posting over this recently um, come back into play. And the reason for that simply is, when I'm writing that out, like I'm not putting any real new levels. I'm kind of repeating many of the same levels simply because we're in a range. And so the market is just kind of moving from previous levels back to other previous levels. All right. So hopefully we'll have something a little bit more exciting today to trade with. Yesterday we didn't have really a stellar session. Yeah, it was pretty boring yesterday. But again, we're in the summertime rhythms here, so we shall see. One of the things we want to absolutely be is flexible, right, for our opportunities. My bias right now, or the lean, really, it's not my personal bias, but it is the market's bias as I see it right now, somewhat neutral, right? So I'm going to be very, very selective. Obviously, always our kind of A plus trade categories. But given the overnight action, which is pretty much rotational, balancing type of action, so let's just be patient. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Feel free to post. What else? All right, again, looking to probe along around the A10 level there, 27s, 28s area. See if something good can come there. All right, heads up, back tested setup 4. Don't know what setup 4 is, but good trade. All right. Well, just missed our entry. It looks like Manny got his entry. All right, just missed our entry. Had the right idea, just didn't get to our level. Thanks, Terry. Manny's entry was 532. Okay, I didn't know what that entry was. All right, that was kind of picked that low. You had 32s. I had 28, 29, so it was very very close. So Manny ran ahead of me. That's okay. We both had the right idea. He got the execution. All right, so good job, Manny. Manny has the trade so far. Again, sticking to the long side here, and certainly we can push. Yeah, the overnight high is certainly in play, which is at 63s. All right, so we'll be looking for a pullback here if we can get on board. Don't want to chase it, but wait for some sort of a halfway decent pullback. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant the prior high, not the overnight high. You are correct. I'm referencing the prior high at 63. Numbers, numbers. It's number soup. So many numbers. All right, Manny got his 20s. All right, coming down here, we get a high volume node around the 45, 46s. Let's see if there's a spot there. Maybe they get to make another run to try to retest the prior highs. Let's see where that goes for us. With the way the current swings are running, right, we could get deeper pullbacks here. So keep that in mind. I'm looking at the prior swings and they're just kind of wide rotational swings. So we're up on this upper end of this current swing. All right, this could easily fall apart lower, but if the buyers still want to hold around these 50s, all right, again, the next target would be up there around the prior highs, 60, 63s. All right, there we go with the 58s. Back to prior highs, or overnight highs, that is. I'm sorry. Got to clarify overnight highs. I had a discount there long and an A4 long. So both playing out nicely here. Got a quick scale. All right, two take profit scales. And stop is now at break even. Everybody can see the charts clearly enough. Remember, you can use the scroll wheel on your mouse, right, to zoom in on the charts if you don't see the charts clearly enough. All right, so we're just managing this long at the moment. Not much more to do. Again, we got three scales. All right, now we can bring our stop to break even entry. So we got three scales out of that. That's on the A4 bottom left or mid bottom left. And then the discount over here on the right hand side coming up to uh, should hit that target, which is matches up with the prior low. And again, stop management is in place. Not much more left to do for us, but just let the trade work out. How's everybody doing so far today? Kind of following the script? Yeah, John, we'll get you an answer to that Pitbull valuation question. I'll pass that along. Yes, we're on the verge of a good opening range if this move continues. Let me bring that back into focus here, what we're talking about. All right, so we got short of crude oil, on the verge of take profit 2, and we're just on the verge of take profit 1 on the NQ. ES still has a ways to go. All right, so that's the screen on that. Nope. All right, on the A4 here and the discount, markets pulled back, and we have our stop trail elected. All right, so those trades are complete. It should be pretty clear. Yeah, the opening range trade slipped back as well, just as we came right upon the prior low. So if you recall, 65s in that area yesterday was kind of a little bit of a sticky wicket. All right, prices here. Let's take a look here from yesterday. All right, you can see up here, right around those 55s into the 65 area, kind of became a sticky wicket, uh, kind of got rejected. So it looks like a bit of a rejection again today. Cannot see the opening range trades anymore. All right, let me squeeze them up a little bit. That better in terms of the levels? They're gone altogether? Okay, hold on a second. Maybe I lost the push on them. 1 second. Okay, yeah. Okay. Hold on just a second. I lost the push on them. Let me reset them. Oh, you lost everything, right? Okay, hold on a second, everyone, please. This is what happens when you're doing things live. Okay, everything should be back. Hopefully it's back for both rooms now. I reset the charts. Isn't it funny how that comes right down to your entry point? Eh, they know. They know for sure. All right, so still staying on the long side. And if you're still open on your long, just continue to manage it. There's the prior low. So that's been fulfilled. Who's in some trades? Let us know. Post them up there. Let us know what you're doing. Transparency for all. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to earn. All right. So crude oil beginning to hit target 2. So take profit 2. Then that completes the short of the crude oil trade. NQ on the long hit target 1. And we're still rooting for ES to hit its target 1, and that's up to the 76.50s. So if we can get that ES to fully cooperate, we'll have a trifecta on the opening range. We love those trifectas. All right. Looking to re-engage if we get a little bit of more of a discount pullback here. More bullish play would be holding above prior low, push up into the prior session. I'm sorry, prior high. My mistake. Your error, my mistake. That's the prior high. It's what I always used to say. Your error, my mistake. All right, just staying with the underlying theme, which is long and buy, looking to buy pullbacks, or staying with longs and manage. Not much more to talk about, unless you guys have some questions. Oh, 891. All right, let's do this. All right, so far the upper edge here has remained accepted up at these prior highs. So staying up here um, indicates acceptance of these prices. Your structural pivot that we're referencing is around the 50s, 75.50. So keep that level in mind. and right up to the 65. So that was a number that we had yesterday, or actually throughout the week. Again, a lot of these numbers just continue to repeat. Yeah, I figured as much. Guys, I gotta step away for a few minutes. All right, I'll be back shortly. Carry on. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. Back with you. Again, I had to step away for a short time. All right, and yeah, it looks as though we were looking for those wider rotations that we mentioned earlier. It looks like again rejection off of those prior high 65 area. Again, that was a sticky point rejection from prior sessions as well. All right, and we did get a shift here. Thank goodness for the auto trade assistant. Let me just say, I had stepped away. The auto trade assistant took our a rotational short here and put us into a nice little short trade on that reversal. Again, did not get the high reversal, all right, but we ended up getting the piece of this move as well. Anybody else catch that reversal? Did you play that reversal? Again, I was stepped away, so all right, everybody's quiet today. Okay, Delphine here took the reversal. Very nice, Delphine. All right. All right. Orist played the short. Okay. Yeah. John South in Chile. Guess who was short on the BLT? Right. That is this particular level here. Okay, that I'm highlighting. That is the one of our trademarked, one of our members trademarked namesake, a BLT. Not bacon, lettuce, and tomato either. It's referred to as the Barbara Lopez trade, and that would be her trade coming off that key high. All right, Delphine says 30 minutes after the opening is my time. We often have a reversal. Great. So Delphine, you don't take a trade until after 30 minutes after the RTH opening. You kind of wait for that first 30-minute period. So interestingly enough, let me just show you something. Go to the members area. So we actually have in the members area a document and it trade time zones. Okay, so this has been, we've had this for quite some time, and I learned these many years ago. All right, I can pass this along if you wish, if you're interested in it. All right, but again, PTG trade time zones, then they're not the same as Manny's clock. All right, different kind of outline here, but anyways, it shows various time zones. I was just thought of this because of Delphine saying she doesn't trade till after that first 30 minutes. Typically, interestingly enough, zone two, right, trade zone two, stated here between 10:08 and 10:12. All right, and again, uh, this is stuff I learned when I was a market maker back in the investment banking days. All right, this particular time zone here, 10:08 to 10:12 through 10:35 to 10:45. Okay, and again, you can see here it can be one of the most powerful zones. Right, this is one of our favorite zones to trade. So it kind of, along the same lines as kind of a reversal time zone, right? This is the correct, David, for zone 2. This is my favorite timing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Super. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll pass this along to everybody. It's part of our educational material, but I'll give you, I'll pass it along. You can kind of review it. But it just got me thinking about what you were saying, Delphine. All right. And so we have a number of different other time zones as they unfold throughout the day. Okay. So I'll pass that along to everybody. Give me a chance to set up the links and such. All right. All right. Let me find that file. Give me a minute or two here. All right, it's a PDF. All right, let me see if I can download it. All right, there you go. Everybody should have access to that PDF. Trade time zones. So this is something that I put together years back. I learned some key levels from some institutional people back when I was in my market making days, and we made it part of the PTG time zones. I don't really talk about time zones as readily as say Manny does. Manny has his time zone blueprint, which is really terrific. Um, but this is based on pretty set time periods that I know a fair amount of institutional players do adhere to. Yeah, we're getting these kind of swings that I thought we would potentially get here today. Again, we're getting these wide swings. They push it, and then they run out of steam, and they push it to the downside, run out of steam. Look what happens here again. We've talked about this yesterday. Literally right to the tick of these prior pivots. All right, another move here, another move there, right to the. Oh, look at that big. Sorry about that. Right to those pivots. And this market is very much mechanical at this stage. And of course, you get a lot of this with this type of kind of summertime, rotational market. Yeah, and you can see where that reversal came right into play, coming off that 10 o'clock period, and then rotation right from the 10:06, 10:04, 10:06 area time zone. All right, back to the mid. All right. So we did get an A10 play out of this one this time. All right, so a little bit for everybody here so far today in this rotation. All right, the A10 short up top middle. We had an A4 short earlier. All right, we got three take profits and we got a break even scale out on the balance. So that's playing out for us pretty well. All right, stop, trailing stop now on this particular short trade off the 810 is break even after two take profits. So we're in good shape there. So Delphine, let me ask you, in terms of your 30 minutes, do you typically, is that kind of like an automatic trade for you after the 30 minutes? You're looking for a reversal trade? Is that how that works for yourself? Many times we get that type of, okay, it is. Okay, great, super, good to know. Right? Yeah, many times we get after that first 30-minute push, we get some sort of a, kind of reversal play. Unless it's a super strong, breakout play. And, if you get that strong breakout play, a true breakout, you may get kind of a little bit of a dip, but then that will get, absorbed fairly quickly. But on a more rotational day, like, we anticipated today, those 30-minute, time periods can be very effective. And the idea for me is it's just because we're in a time window or a time period, it's not an automatic trade. Again, for when I look at things like that, I'm always needing some sort of a trigger, a structural trigger that kind of coincides, with those time periods. All right, looks like things are settling down a little bit here. Oh, okay. Yeah, structure, level, timing. Yeah, exactly. The trifecta. Today's theme, I would say flexibility, staying flexible. After everybody's had a chance, to review the various time zones and things, I'd love to get feedback from anybody. want to provide some feedback with the various stuff that we do, that would be great. I don't trade the DAX, but Delphine, I would probably venture to say that the DAX and the ES kind of well correlated in terms of times in different structures. I don't trade the DAX, but so guys, I just posted up a link. If you're interested, later on today, there's a free Randy Howell webinar, Mastering the Source of Your Fear and Impulse in Trading. And there is the link. It is a open webinar. Randy Howell, I've worked with Randy Howell over the years myself. Um, and he has done quite a number of wondrous things. And so it might be worthwhile to at least register. If you can't make it, you will receive a recording. So do go ahead and register for the webinar, and might be worth your while. All right, it's a one-click registration, so very easy. Yeah, and if you can't make it, for whatever reason, time zone restrictions and so forth, you will receive the recording. It's one thing I think we all need to work on, is our mindset, our psychological health in trading. We all have demons. Don't think we don't. Call them what you want. Most people call them demons, not in the religious sense or anything, but just, in that psychological sense. And if you don't think you have demons, then you're kidding yourself, particularly when it comes to trading. And you'll never slay them. You can only manage them. So Randy Howell has wonderful techniques on how to identify the source, being able to manage them, the tools to be able to manage them. So check in that webinar. It should be at least informative. And by the way, I get nothing from this. So I am a client of his, full disclosure. He's done wonders for me in many areas. I still have lots of work to do for my own self. He has helped many a trader out there. He has loads and loads of experience working with traders. Yeah, totally. Learning this is all mental. Exactly, Philly D. I mean, again, you need to have a strategy. You need to have methodology. You need to have all that good stuff. But you could have the best, strategy and thing in the world. But if you have trouble executing it and being consistent in executing it, particularly during drawdowns, yeah, it can be challenging. So you need to have the adequate tools to be able to combat that stuff. And again, Randy Howell can certainly help you. Yeah, the lunatic in the head, right? All right. So in terms of the programming here today, I will be cutting out around near to 11 o'clock, just probably in another 5 minutes or so. I believe Niels will be coming on at 11 a.m. Eastern time here. Niels is the developer, trader developer, manager of the Delta Trader platform that he developed. And so I believe he's coming on at 11. He's located in Europe. And so he'll be coming on for probably an hour or so. I'm not sure exactly how long, but so stick around. Neil's a very good person, very good trader, and again, I'm sure he'll explain his Delta Trader platform. So stick around for that. That should be coming up momentarily. Mini Sniper asks David, cycle day one
how will be important for the rest of 2 day cycles. So again, the premise here of the cycle day one is to establish a low. That is the core. From that point on, it just acts as the base reference point, right, for the cycle. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were in a bit earlier, Sniper, but yesterday we had the decline, right, which established actually. So down in this zone here, this white line here, okay, this is the average decline projection, okay, for a cycle day one. Now, yesterday was a cycle day three, all right, but typically, coming off cycle day three, that's when declines can actually begin. So that decline yesterday pushed all the way down to that cycle day one projected low. Now, it's not the cycle day one low yet because we're currently on cycle day one, right? So yesterday that acted as the reference area, the range low from which the market rallied. And that's where we are today. So kind of in a sense, maybe it was because of the holiday, don't really know, but and again, today's low right now, which is at 1625, it's not the final cycle day one low, but it is current cycle day one low. So the cycle day one low acts as kind of the baseline, right, for um, the staging of the current rally. So if this holds, let's just say this 16 quarter actually becomes cycle day one low. So that becomes the new reference. All right. From that point on, we would want to see the market, continue to move higher, perhaps test these highs up here, the upper edge of near those 7600s, right? And again, that would be bring us into cycle two. Cycle two, typically we could get some backing and filling, and then we would look for some sort of a continuation uh, up into a cycle